Today, I'm going to talk about challenging bosses. Hi, I'm Simon Peck. I'm a people manager, and I run and build software engineering teams. In handling challenging situations with your boss, I want to focus on things that can have a real impact on the way that you work with your manager. I'm also going to point out a series of tips to develop a strong relationship with your manager. First, we'll use a technique to examine your own working style, and then I'll go through a few specific examples of challenging managerial relationships. By the end of this video, you'll have a mental framework for developing a productive, mutually beneficial alliance with your manager. In Gallup's comprehensive study, The State of the American Manager, they found that nearly 50% of Americans have left a job to get away from their manager and improve the quality of their life. The study reveals that the majority of managers working in the United States today are wrong for their role. They may have been successful at their previous roles, but that doesn't automatically make them good managers. And in the tech industry, there's been a frightening trend for decades to take high-performing individual contributors and turn them into managers without regard for management skills. In order to be a good manager, you need to be able to motivate every individual on the team, directly and clearly review performance, build relationships, overcome adversity, and make decisions based on productivity and not politics. Chances are that your manager doesn't excel at all of these things, but they probably aspire to do so with the desire to become a great leader. What is your manager good at? Whatever your experience with your manager is, some situations are probably challenging to approach. They probably have some unique and valuable skills that landed them in their role, so let's understand where they excel so we also know where their weaknesses are. It might even help to write this down. If you want to, get away from the screen for a moment. Wrap your hands around an actual writing utensil and get scribbling. What do they do successfully in each of those 5 categories? Think about what drives your manager's actions and speech. How do they motivate you and other members of the team? Do people understand how their individual contributions benefit the team? Does everyone know how to move up the career ladder? How do they resolve conflict? How do they shield the team from unnecessary distractions? What metrics measure execution? You probably can't change your boss, but you can help them be a more successful leader. My goal of helping you work effectively with your manager focuses on changing your own behavior in response to their management style. So let's next look at their shortcomings from your perspective. Now we're moving from the high-level concept of being an effective manager and leader into the weeds. So focus on things that specifically affect you and the team. Don't worry about being selfish or petty. List everything that you can think of that has caused any kind of direct mental conflict between you and your manager or within your team. Describe every situation where you think you were treated unfairly. Maybe you weren't recognized for your work. Maybe someone else got credit for your idea. Maybe your boss allowed a non-performer to languish without being accountable to the team. You could be experiencing general malaise on the team. Whatever it is, write it down. Next, we want to think about your involvement in these interactions. Not necessarily something that you did wrong, but more of an explicit recognition of how you behaved, what you did or didn't do. For example, let's say that you're not having one-on-ones regularly because your manager keeps canceling them. Your role might be, I passively accept my manager's meeting cancellations. Another example, maybe you missed an achievable deadline. I'm not operating at my full potential. Finally, consider the reason that you behaved the way that you did in the interaction. Were you primarily pushing self-interest or focusing on a singular agenda at the cost of everything else? Were you afraid to talk to your boss about something? Maybe you just don't feel motivated to show up for work right now. Building a strong professional relationship requires understanding how to manage your manager. Look at your behaviors and ask if those were effective ways to do that. What could you have done differently given what you know of your manager? How can you depend on your manager's strengths and help fund their weaknesses? How can your own strengths fill gaps within the team? For example, perhaps your manager isn't great at motivating the team. Think about what motivates you. Take stock of this and bring it back to your manager. Explain what gets you out of bed in the morning and help them figure out how to attach that to the goals on the team. Suggest having a retrospective where everyone talks about why they joined the company and the impact they're hoping to have. This could help your manager understand how to attach the team's deliverables to your personal intrinsic motivation and to that of your teammates. And this brings us to relationship tip number 1. Ask your manager how you can help them be successful. Come prepared with a recommendation that you crafted from this exercise. Present it in the form of a problem that you're observing, and propose your solution as an action that you can take to help the team be more successful. We're talking about building a professional relationship over time. We're strictly looking for positive outcomes that support your boss's ability to be an effective manager, and we're looking to accelerate the movement of those outcomes over time. As part of this process, you're also going to develop a better understanding of your own strengths. So pay attention to that. What are the things that come naturally to you that you can develop further? As you're going through this process, you're going to realize that you're having an impact on the team that goes outside of any day-to-day work or product delivery activities that you're engaged in. Don't let this slip away. Document it. Relationship tip number 2. Make your contributions evident. Keep a running document with meaningful contributions that you've made that you can use in the event that you're ready for a promotion. This might not seem like a relationship management tool at first, but promoting talent usually requires a fair bit of research and documentation on your manager's part, and anything that you can do to make this process easier will improve your own likelihood for success. In this vein, it's often difficult for your manager to know exactly how everyone performs on the team. While they probably have the intent to hold everyone accountable, it can be challenging to know who performs at the level of expectation. Teammates will often look out for and cover for each other, and while this can be a reflection of strong team bonds, it can cloud the perspective of who contributes at the level that they should be. Ideally, contributions are easily quantifiable, and team metrics will reflect performance. But the real world is often messy. Your manager might have a lot of direct reports, and the accounting can be difficult to accurately ascertain. Or maybe they're relying too much on their strong leadership skills with the hope that this will drive everyone to execute effectively. If you help hold your teammates accountable for their deliverables, they'll do the same to you. And this will massively impact your manager's confidence that they understand everyone's individual performance. Relationship tip number 3, hold your teammates accountable. In status meetings, if someone seems stuck or takes longer than expected to deliver something, ask if you or someone else on the team can help out. Also, hold yourself accountable. Call it out if you've run into problems, need assistance, or aren't able to execute as quickly as you had anticipated. Now let's look at a few specific interactions with managers that can be challenging. For every single one of these, use your one-on-one with your manager as the critical tool for driving communication. If you're not having regular one-on-ones with your manager, start having them. Put a recurring weekly meeting on your boss's calendar with an agenda, and if they cancel it, reschedule. Be persistent about this. You must have an agenda. Attach it to the meeting. So many engineers fail to use their one-on-ones effectively. They show up unprepared and with nothing to talk about. Once you have an agenda for your one-on-one, update it before the meeting with your items. During the meeting, focus first on things that you're either delivering or requesting. Then offer to be helpful somewhere, and finally get into any information sharing. Don't talk about project status unless your manager explicitly asks about it. So the structure could be this. 1, deliver. Do you have anything to deliver outside of your normal day-to-day work? This could be something you talked about in your last meeting. Request. What do you need to be successful? Offer. This is optional, but if you think you have the bandwidth, it can have huge impact. What can you do to help out or make the team or your manager more successful? Information sharing. Keep the communication flowing. Shed insights that your manager might not have. Once you've established a regular one-on-one with your manager where you're driving the agenda, you're prepared to tackle any challenging conversation. So let's get into some of these now. You don't know how to ask for a raise. Put the word comp on your one-on-one agenda. When you get to that item, put some spine into it and say, I'd like to talk about my compensation. I'd like to be at X dollars. Let that sit for a moment. You shouldn't have to enumerate your accomplishments if you've been in close communication, although you may need to clarify or answer questions. Most likely, your manager will do some accounting and get back to you. Asking for something signals that you value your role on the team and your relationship with your manager. Ask for something specific. Ask for something that you think will get declined. This also provides an opportunity for your boss to ask for something back. Don't ask for a raise just because you want one. Have something to back it up with. You don't know how to get a promotion. Ask what it takes to get to the next level. If you don't get a specific answer, turn it into a more specific question. If I do XYZ, would you consider me for a promotion? Offer to generalize that and turn it into a promotion template for others to use to get to the level that you're pursuing. You could also offer to be involved in defining all levels. If you don't have levels, it's probably in the back of your broader team's agenda to define them. They just haven't gotten to it yet. In fact, any time that you see something neglected that needs to be done, take the initiative to move forward with it, and it will increase your chances of achieving a promotion. Managers love the help, even if you don't do it perfectly. There are many more people who complain that something needs to be done than those who dive in and do it. So you'll definitely stand out as helpful if you do these things. Your boss multitasks in one-on-ones. If you notice your boss isn't paying attention, you can say something like, "I know you're busy, but if we could at least get through a few of these things, I would appreciate it. I can push the rest of them to our next meeting." This lets your boss know that you have something to talk about and that you're prepared for it and that you've noticed that they're not paying attention. All of your one-on-ones are stressful. This usually happens because your manager hasn't built trust with you. Typically, managers try to expose some vulnerabilities to you and the team in order to build trust, but maybe your manager hasn't done that. This is a tough one because you can't force somebody else to open up to you, but you could ask your manager if you could spend one of your meetings getting to know each other a little bit more. Start by asking them some questions about how they got where they are. Look for anything at all in their story that you can relate to and pull on that thread. Then reciprocate something to try and build some rapport. Build on this relationship over time. You can do it both async over Slack and incrementally in your one-on-ones. Your boss talks but doesn't listen. Lean on your one-on-one agenda for this one. Have everything prepared in writing before the meeting so that if you can't get it in verbally, at least it was delivered in writing. When you do get a moment, focus on the requests portion of your one-on-one. This next tip shouldn't be used relentlessly, but you could do it one or two times during the course of a meeting. If your manager interrupts you while you're talking, keep talking. Speak as if they're listening, and they probably will. Be efficient in your delivery. Get to the point quickly. After the meeting, you could message your boss to let them know that everything else that you wanted to talk about is in your meeting notes. You can answer any questions about it async. Your boss is too forgiving to underperformers on the team. Don't wait for your boss to act on this one. Good team members hold each other accountable. If someone's not performing on the team, call it out. Raise it at a status meeting by offering to help or asking if anyone else can help out with the thing that they're not delivering. If you're worried about damaging your personal relationship with the person, don't be. You're more likely to have a healthy relationship with them by calling it out than by harboring resentment against the person. Your boss announces changes in group context that primarily affect you without talking to you one-on-one about it first. This means that you need to set boundaries with your boss. Managers usually want unified alignment in decision-making. Explain how this contributes to team dysfunctionality when you're not prepared to answer questions about the change and you're not ready to move forward with it. Maybe you're not yet bought in on the change and you need your own questions answered in order to be fully committed. Without that, it prevents you from acting in a unified fashion with your boss's vision. Your boss micromanages you. A micromanager gets up in your business, not only concerning themselves with what you can deliver, but how you do it. This usually comes about for one of two reasons. The first reason, your boss can't give it up. Maybe you have a new manager, or they've never been able to let go of code. Maybe they can't get out of the weeds. In this case, ask them how you can help free up their time. Try to build trust by asking what you can deliver so that they understand that they're going to get what they want. By virtue of asking the question, it's a signal that they're going too far and that they need to let go of the reins. In this situation, set your own expectations that progress here might be gradual. The second reason, you screwed something up or you didn't execute in the way that they expected and now they need to get involved. You need to figure out what went wrong here. Where were you misaligned? Broken trust is probably the culprit. Ask to step back and clearly identify what exactly it is that they need. Refocus your efforts on the areas that they care about and try again. Relationship tip 4, don't quit. If you're unfulfilled, try taking on more responsibility. Most people find meaning in being able to have an impact. Be proactive by figuring out where you can help. You'll also develop one of the most important engineering skills that you can possibly have: interpersonal communication. It will prevent you from carrying what might be your own personal flaws to a new occupation. If you're already unsatisfied, your current job becomes a sandbox for experimentation. Try some new things out. If they work, you're golden. If they don't work, then you can move on. But if you give up and do the bare minimum, you're missing an opportunity to learn something. If you take another job without telling your boss that you're thinking about moving on, you're missing an opportunity. In handling relationships with challenging bosses, you first need to look at yourself. How can you change your own perspective, take on more responsibility, and act to change your situation? Then, try to understand your manager's shortcomings and play into your own strengths and talents to support them where they need it most. Finally, document your achievements. Use this record of accomplishments to push your own career forward, which will inevitably lead to regular promotions and compensation increases. I hope this helped you work through a few of the myriad challenges you might encounter as an ambitious engineer in a challenging situation. If you're daring enough to put it in the comments, let me know about a situation you've been in if you've been wondering about another way in which it could have been handled. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I'm grateful for your support. If you liked it, please subscribe to be notified of more videos on these topics in the future.